I have always said that I fear for Australia's future because whatever happens in Europe and America ends up happening in Australia. When the world was dealing with this terrible epidemic caused by this horrible virus we all come to know as wokeism, Australia remained relatively safe. We weren't having this debate of whether trans women should share their bathrooms with biological women, but now we're seeing these gender-neutral bathrooms popping up everywhere quietly without any debate. The Aussies, especially in their 40s, are caught off guard. Just last week, this guy at my cricket club saw this gender-neutral bathroom and asked me, what was that about? It took me nearly half an hour to explain to him, and I'm still not sure whether he got it by the end of it. I guess my point is that these far-left wokies do their damage in Europe and America first, and then their lazy counterparts here in Australia just strut in and start enforcing their radical ideologies which have been accepted in Europe and America without any debate in Australia. Okay, trans women are biological women, address them by certain pronouns. Okay, I have always viewed them as nuisance. Fine. You want me to address you by a certain pronoun? I'm okay with it. I don't care. But that has had a terrible, terrible consequence that people like me did not see it coming. These far left wokies might not be dangerous themselves, but the culture that they have created is very dangerous. They have single-handedly destroyed the Western culture of inquiry, debate, disagreement, free speech. They enable the radical import of radical cultures like Islamism without any debate. Thanks to these far-left wokies, we now have a culture of giving up on standard Western values without putting up a fight. This is the culture we now live in. Far-left wokey. Refugees are all welcome. Whereas a sane person in the middle says, oh, hang on a second. Maybe we should devise a formal strategy because if we have uncontrolled migration, then we could have unforeseeable consequences. Now a blue-haired Wokistani turns into a raging Wokistani. You bloody racist! And the sane person just cowers down, shuts up, and leaves because he doesn't want to be doxxed and lose his job. This is exactly what happened in Europe and America. Consequently, due to uncontrolled migration, we've had a sharp increase in violent crime, especially sexual crimes against women and children. Just this week, 7 Egyptian migrants gang raped a 13-year-old Italian girl in front of a 17-year-old boyfriend, and they made him watch it. A day before that, a British tourist was raped by a Moroccan migrant in Milan. This is the reason why now the Europeans are waking up. These Parisians are saying no to Islamic imports. The Germans, who under Angela Merkel imported up to 4 million Muslim migrant men, they are saying, say no to Islam. Look at these Spaniards. They're saying Spain is a Christian country, not a Muslim country. And just yesterday, look at the Japanese. Japan is known for no migration, but some Muslim migrants made their way into Japan as well. And guess what? They noticed a sharp increase in violent sexual crimes against local Japanese women. So the Japanese people are also saying no to Muslim migrants. And of course, what's happening in Ireland, I think everyone knows about this. These Irish people are also saying no to Muslim migrants. Okay, Harris, we know there's a problem with radical Islamism in Europe, but what does that have to do with Australia? Just yesterday, or by the time you watch this video, the news might be a couple of days old, the whole of Australia was shocked when it learned that these 4 men brutally stabbed a 70-year-old granny, veiled in white. These guys have now been identified as Sudanese men who came here as refugees. Now, what I'm about to tell you might be inconvenient, but it's not racist because these are hardcore facts determined by the Victorian Crime Statistics Agency. According to the Victorian Crime Statistics Agency, Sudanese people make up 0.1% of the general population. However, they make up 1% of all the crimes committed in Victoria. That means that if you're Sudanese, you are 10 times more likely to commit a crime. 10 times. In some other crimes, the figures are far worse. For example, 7% of home invasions are committed by Sudanese. That means if you're a Sudanese person, you are 70% more likely to invade a home. Wait, it gets worse than that. 14% of aggravated robberies are committed by Sudanese. That means you are 140 times more likely to commit an aggravated robbery if you are a Sudanese person. These are staggering numbers. Now, just to give you an idea of what is normal, 71% of Australians are born in Australia. And guess how many Aussie-born criminals there are in Victorian prisons? 71%. which means they're neither overrepresented nor underrepresented. They're just there where they should be. Now, I couldn't find data on criminal behavior based on immigration status, so I'm just going to make an opinion based on conjecture. I believe that skilled migrants are underrepresented in prison population, whereas people who enter illegally or by boat are overrepresented when it comes to criminal behavior. As I said, I could be wrong, but I can't be blamed because the Victorian Crime Statistics Agency does not collect data based on immigration status. Now I need you to understand the next point very carefully, because it is not racist to point out what's happening. Shouting at other people is the reason why we are where we are. The West is crumbling all over the world, and Australia doesn't have to follow the same route. Throughout human history, cultures have evolved homogeneously in isolation. They make rules, some people break those rules, and you make new rules, and this is how problems and solutions have evolved simultaneously. This is why all cultures have specific problems. For example, obesity or diabetes is a problem known to developed countries only. This is the reason why our government spend millions of dollars to combat obesity and diabetes.
1 in 2 Australian adults is overweight.
Spending that much money in Ethiopia or Sudan is going to be a waste of money. An Ethiopian or Sudanese government is far more likely to spend that money on combating violent crime, for example. Some cultures share the problems too, but the reasons and ways to combat them could be totally different. For example, wife beating is quite a universal problem. Almost all cultures have that problem because humans are a patriarchal species, and as a result we have more male on female violence than vice versa. However, some cultures did better than others in combating that problem. This is the reason why if you go to the Middle East, wife beating is far less frowned upon than say in Western countries. It's because in the West, wife beating is considered an immoral act.
If assault or violence has happened to you, do seek help and support, because to violence against women, Australia says no.
However, in the Middle East, it's considered perfectly fine to physically discipline your wife, as it is sanctioned by the Quran, chapter 4, verse 34. It says, if you fear disobedience from your wife, then first stop talking to her, then stop sleeping with her, and then give her a backhander. Moreover, in a Middle Eastern country, domestic violence might occur over a family honor issue, whereas in the Western culture, domestic violence might occur due to lack of self-control, powered by alcohol or anger. Therefore, a Western country might try to overcome that problem by investing in counseling, providing rehab for alcohol addiction or anger management, etc. Whereas in a Middle Eastern country, they struggle to overcome that problem because, as I said, it's been sanctioned by Islam. And any person who says that domestic violence is a problem or a man should not hit his wife, he gets in trouble. That's why in Middle Eastern countries you have clerics and influential people. They actually tell you how to beat your wife on national TV.
أهلا بكم من خلال هذا اللقاء الذي هو بعنوان ضرب الزوجات.
عجيب. إذن هو يضرب للتأديب، وإذا ضرب لا يزيد عن 10 إيذاء صدره. كل هذا تكريم للمرأة.
So that tells you that these are two different cultures. In the Western culture, there is an active attempt to overcome the problem of domestic violence, whereas in the Middle Eastern culture, it's okay to beat your wife.
هذه العقوبة عقوبة الضرب. كيف؟
كرمها بالضرب.
إي والله.
مش معقول.
كيف؟
Islam and human rights are in 100% agreement that women should be beaten. We only differ on who should do the beating. You say only the state can punish women. Islam says no. This means that the patriarch has authority to physically discipline members of his family, including his wives, if they violate important norms and values.
So now when these cultures mix, then you have a problem. So if you're a Western country, how are you going to overcome that problem without getting accused of Islamophobia, xenophobia, and racism? The reason why I told you this is because I wanted you to understand that every culture is better equipped to deal with native problems. Wife beating due to alcohol addiction? Sure. Raise awareness, do a campaign, make a law, and you would start seeing some results. But import an Afghan man who sees nothing wrong in beating up his wife and then try to tell him that, hey,
Violence against women, Australia says no.
All of a sudden, you have a problem and you don't know how to deal with this. If you import people from cultures who see women as pleasurable objects for men, yes, listen to this.
Homosexuality is a heinous, horrible thing. It's not acceptable in Islam. God created man, and then he created woman for man's pleasure.
Every time these men see women who are not covered up as per their understanding, they're going to see that it's fair game to get her. This is the reason why we're seeing this significant increase in violent sexual crimes against women in Europe. The point of this video is that this experiment has taken place in Europe and America. Don't let Australia go down the same route as Europe and America. I go to Europe every year, and I'm telling you, every year, Europe is worse than the year before. Not just because of violent crimes, but because of everything. Everything is collapsing. Social services, healthcare, infrastructure, transportation, everything is falling apart. Whereas in Australia, we haven't had this wave of uncontrolled migration. As a result, our infrastructure is working. Medicare, Centrelink, everything is in order. If we don't guard our borders, we're going to be hit harder than Europe and America. So what happened to Eileen White? We all need to make a lot of noise for it. Don't destroy Australia. Wake up before it's too late. I hope you liked today's video. Like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support my work, you can be my patron by going to patreon.com/Sultan, or you can buy me a coffee. Until next time, ta-da. If you'd like to support my work, you can become my patron by going to patreon.com/Sultan, or you can simply buy me a coffee.